Lu Fan was still flying through the air. There was a new gleam in his eyes, a strong desire to test the power of his new dragon. On his back was an ancient, semi-conscious dragon awakened by dark magic, tearing through the sky in its silent ascent. Flight. And right in front of him, the Dragon King of Shadow Island, a living legend, the still monstrous-sized creature, said to be the second largest dragon in the world, stared at Lu Fan with calm but terrifying eyes. Lu Fan could have killed him in one blow if he wanted to. Just one gesture. And his new dragon could turn the Shadow King into ash. But he didn't. He waited. Deliberately, because this time, fighting wasn't his goal, which was a test. Lu Fan was still looking at him like a baby dragon. There was no hatred in his eyes, only observation. And then he made his next move. He turned to his sight dragon and signaled power to hide in the air, a silent command, but its vibrations reverberated through the air. But here, the sight dragon, which was at 95, had already seen through Lu Fan's trickery. For a moment, lightning flashed in its eyes, and then it sprang into action. No warning, no fear, just pure rage. Its muscles tensed, huge wings shook the sky, and roaring, it charged straight towards Lu Fan. The shadow dragon was moving quickly towards Lu Fan. Its eyes were savagely red, and waves of smoke emanating from its body were burning the air. Lu Fan, on the other hand, was completely calm. It seemed to already know what the next moment would be like. And then, the dragon extended its huge claws towards Shan. Its attack was tearing through the air. But just then something broke in the sky. A terrifying force fell. It flashed through the dark clouds like lightning and struck the shadow dragon directly. I was stunned. What was that? Who attacked me so terribly? That force was no ordinary magic hit the shadow dragon directly and knocked it out of the sky. Thud. The earth shook. A cloud of dust rose, and the ancient dragon lay on the ground, his eyes wide in disbelief. How did this happen? He couldn't believe it. Power he hadn't seen in thousands of years had descended upon him. Then suddenly, an invisible attack came again. No warning, no sound, only agony. The Shadow Dragon King roared, and a horrifying viscous green liquid began to flow out of his mouth. It also began to leak from his eyes. The same green poison. His body began to shake. Fear filled his breath. He couldn't understand anything. Where was this attack coming from? Who was breaking into him invisibly like this? And on the other side, there was no enemy in sight. Senior sister, who had been calm until now, was shocked. She said in shock, "Hey Lun, I can't even see where the enemy is. I can only see a attack. I don't understand what's going on." Lu Fan's eyes lit up. He immediately looked back at the shadow dragon and said in a low voice, filled with gratitude and determination, "I must inflame this battle. I need to find out the true powers of my shadow dragon, ... And for that, I must add fuel to the fire." Seeing the situation, Lu Fan immediately orders Zhao Fa to provide the emerald light. Upon hearing this, Zhao Fa immediately activates his powers and releases his power into the air, causing a divine light to appear around him, and then he transforms into a dangerous dragon. Zhao Fa activates his soul shelter power, which also adds the attributes of friendly targets. The soul light increases by 100%. Each time it is damaged, it absorbs the damage received, forming 1 to 2 layers of defensive energy. After each damage is accumulated, it releases a defensive energy shock, and the amount of damage absorbed is 10 times the total amount of damage. The shadow dragon roars at that moment and opens its mouth to emit a brilliant divine light. Its gaze is directed directly at Jeffy, the real target. It charges towards Geo, but waves of its power radiate all around it, aiming directly at Geofi. At that moment, Jeffy stands absolutely still, completely motionless. No resistance, no reaction. A mysterious power suddenly spreads all around. Flames of divine light swirl around Jeffy in a circle, as if pulling him into another world. Lu Fan's eyes are dazzled, but he immediately understands. This is the hidden power of that black blade, he mutters. He realizes that Jeffy's presence, all his power, depended on it. This was his real secret. At that moment, Lu Fan was standing right in front of Zhao Fibit just then. The Shadow Dragon King suddenly roared and made his next move. Bright divine light burst out from his huge body, causing the air around him to tremble. He was about to launch another devastating attack at Lu Fan, but at that moment, something activated within Lu Fan. A deep, twisting black hole, which appeared right in front of his chest, swallowed up all the light. All the divine power that could have ripped apart the skies just now vanished in an instant. There was silence. Then Lu Fan's voice emerged, low, but undeniably decisive. "Neutralize all attacks." His words echoed throughout the space. This wasn't an order. Suddenly, Lu Fan raised his head. There was a new gleam in his eyes, cold, decisive, and cruel. He slowly stepped forward, then squinted at his black dragon. "Show me your most powerful attack," he said in a calm voice, as if pronouncing death. The black dragon understood immediately. It roared forward, its eyes now burning. And then, in one stroke, the sky turned black. The black dragon gathered all of its power and launched a devastating attack so intense, so precise, that the air was torn apart. Before the Shadow Dragon could understand what was happening, it fell to the ground, dead. In one stroke, silence fell. The big sister stepped forward in disbelief. Her eyes widened. What happened? This was the same dragon, right? That level 95 boss. He really died. She mumbled further. He really died. Lu Fan smiled softly. His smile was neither proud nor conceited, just pure sincerity. Shadow Dragon is a killer among shared dragons. He specializes in killing in one blow. He paused for a moment, killing any boss instantly with the help of Go4. It's normal for us now. The elder sister couldn't move. She whispered, "This is normal." Really? A level 47 dragon can kill a level 95 dragon in one blow. She shuddered. I'm at level 96 myself, and my total attributes are only 8,000. She looked at Lu Fan. So how many does he have? Big sister was silent for a while, then said with a light smile, "Just 2 more days. After 2 days, I'll finally be able to stand on my own and fight those 2 companies eye to eye." Her eyes were no longer filled with fear, but determination. Lu Fan looked at her slowly, confidently, and said, "Big sister, don't worry. As long as I'm here, no one can touch you. So don't worry about anything." Big sister's eyes welled up. She stared at Lu Fan for a while, then said softly, "If you can really do this, then you're a boon to our family." There was sincerity in her voice, and gratitude that was beyond words. After this, everyone descends to the ground, and after traveling a long distance, almost 2 days had passed. Lu Fan said that, as promised, my senior and I have reached the Western Territory. Not long after, Lu Fan and his elder sister rode their dragons and flew through the sky towards the mansion. Flying towards the mansion, Lu Fan glanced at the expanse of scenery below and was speechless for a moment. "This scenery, how beautiful," he said softly. "Now it makes sense why so many noble families settle here." The elder sister replied with a light smile. The Dragon Country desperately needed the support of noble families when it was building its foundation. So the richest resources of the western border were handed over to them at the very beginning of the reign. She continued, and so that there would be no outside interference in their lives. Not a single city was built here. This area was reserved solely for them. After hearing all of this, Lu Fan nodded and said, "If that's the reason, then it makes sense." The elder sister ran her fingers through her hair as if she was lost in thoughts, and then said, "The Wang and Long families here are actually the lowest-tier nobles in Western Border." Her eyes focused on the horizon in the distance, and she continued in a low voice. There are also the C, B, and A tier families who guard deeper and more dangerous areas. They are considered fourth-tier masters. Compared to them, she paused. Families like Wang and Long are at the bottom of the list. Lu Fan understood everything. He was silent for a moment and then thought to himself, "I had no idea that there were so many secrets hidden within the Western Border. It seems as if I have never understood this world before. Everything I thought I knew was just the surface." His gaze swept across the magnificent expanse below, and he muttered to himself in the eyes of these so-called noble families, "I am probably just an insignificant ant." But there was no desperation in that thought. Instead, there was a deep curiosity and a burning desire. And perhaps it is exactly why the prospect of unraveling this mystery feels so exciting, he mused to himself. As these thoughts were running through his mind, a joyful voice echoed in the air. It was the elder sister's voice. "Lu Fan, look, we've arrived," she said, excitement evident in her voice. He raised his hand in the air and pointed to a huge, quiet, but majestic mansion. "This is where we need to go." Lu Fan wasted no time in signaling his dragon to descend. The next moment, the dragon's heavy body slowly descended, lightly shaking the ground. The mansion stood before them with golden walls, tall pillars, and a history full of mystery. As soon as Big Sister got down from the dragon, her steps couldn't stop. She suddenly sprinted towards the mansion. This was the place where she had spent her entire childhood. Every stone, every turn, every door holding her within. Lu Fan followed her quietly. They were just walking towards the main entrance of the mansion when Big Sister suddenly paused for a moment. She looked back at Lu Fan. Her eyes were serious, as if wanting to make sure one last time. She said, "Lu Fan, are you really willing to do all this with me? If you have any hesitations, there's still time. You can go back if you want." Her tone was sincere, gentle, but firm. Lu Fan was silent for a few moments, as if lost in thought. Then he looked straight at her and said softly, "Now that we've come this far, do you think I should regret it?" He sighed and said, "It's the Wang and Long families who should be sorry, not me." His voice was firm, but not angry, just cold sincerity. The elder sister's eyes quivered slightly. She stared at him for a moment, then smiled softly. She extended her hand to him and said, "Come on then. I'll show you the place where I spent all my childhood, where I grew up." This place was known as the Wang family's martial arts arena, vast, rocky land with a calm surrounding it, but a different kind of storm brewing in the center. Suddenly, the air became heavy. Waves of energy trembled in the atmosphere. This was a sign that two warriors were standing face to face within the arena, and their inner forces were clashing. The two stepped forward at the same moment, their movements ripping through the air, as if the earth itself had paused for a moment. But just as the collision was about to take place, the young man in front of him suddenly stopped his attack and took a deep breath and said, "You are still the best. Even after more than 100 times of steady progress, I am still a little behind you." Standing in front of him was a long-bearded, serious-faced man whose expression and presence clearly indicated that he was his teacher, or perhaps master. The man replied, "You're at the 98th level, and yet you can display the kind of strength that is normally displayed by Ding-level warriors. This is no ordinary thing," he continued. "If all goes well, Your strength will definitely surpass mine in the next half-year. And then you'll also have abilities that are considered miraculous in any Ding-level noble family." He looked at the young man, a goal flashing in his eyes. "If you reach the 99th level, the path to 3rd level status may open up for our Wang family. And then we'll be able to muster up the courage to face the Ning family." The young man's eyes lit up with determination upon hearing this. He said slowly, rising from a Class C family, "If this is the way to go, I'll have to put in all my strength." The trial was over. The temperature in the arena was still slowly dropping, but the conversation between the two men was creating tension in the air. The disciple standing beside the old man spoke softly. "We just received news Owexian has returned. And there's a young man with him." He paused, then added in a low voice. Both of them were riding on a bone dragon mount. The old man's eyes narrowed. "Bone dragon," he mumbled, then said in surprise, "Are you saying that it's a black bone dragon?" His tone was now filled with both suspicion and fear. "Is that young man the same dragon tamer?" The disciple tilted his head and said, "Very likely. According to our sources, he has tamed several rare dragons. His style, his movements, everything matches." The old man sighed. After a moment of silence, he spoke seriously. "If that's true, then this boy is no ordinary boy. He cannot be ignored." "But," the disciple replied confidently, "don't worry, ancestor. I will take him under our protection. And when the time comes, he will serve our family." The old man looked at him, then asked in a low voice, "And what if he refuses?" A chilly silence fell. The old man's eyes shone with a cold light. In this western border, life and death are often decided by power, not fate. He leaned forward and said softly, "If necessary, then kill him. Jilong never questions those who die here." The disciple bowed his head, and the air became heavy. Once again, he said with a slight smile, "In the next 2 days, Long Ai of the Long family will come to the family with Long Jin. He will not only try to protect Long Jin's reputation, but will also ask for more resources." He paused, then said, "It would be understandable if it was just about reputation, but asking for more from her? I don't agree with that at all." Hearing this, the man across from him let out a loud laugh, a laugh that was both sarcasm and strategic provocation. "So it's true. Long Erhu's habits don't change easily." He then said in a serious tone, 3 days from now, I will arrive at my family's place exactly when Long Erhu is there." There was a spark in his eyes, scheming spark. "This way, not only will we strengthen our family's position, but we will also be able to maintain control over the Long family." 3 days later, in the commodity room of the mansion, Lu Fan was living in seclusion. There was a quiet sound. Outside the room, a maid standing by the door said in a polite voice, "Mr. Yufan, it's time for breakfast. Please have your meal." But inside the room, there was no movement. Lu Fan had already used the portal by then. His presence was no longer there. He had arrived far away. On the deserted beach of Tianwo Island, the blue light of the system was shining around him. System notification. All dragons have been upgraded. Lu Fan's core level. Upgrade complete. Lu Fan took a deep breath and thought to himself, "In just a few days, I will have all my dragons reach the next limit. And then, no matter how powerful the Long family is, with my current power, I can crush them with lightning speed." For a few moments, his mind drifted to senior sister. "I don't know what kind of preparations my elder sister is making these days." After standing on the beach for a little while longer, Lu Fan returned through the portal to his room. But as soon as he returned, he felt a commotion outside. There was a knock on the door. Someone's voice said, "The Long family members have arrived. They are waiting in the hall and calling for senior sister. Also, the Wang family's convoy has passed." Through Jinpo, they could be here any time. Lu Fan looked out the window. A slight smile appeared on his lips. Looks like I've returned at the right time, he thought. He went outside shortly after. Standing outside was Senior Sister, a slight shadow of tension on her face. Perhaps she knew that this confrontation was not going to be averted. She was ordering, "We must increase the security of the yard. Do not let any outsiders in, not without my permission." Her tone was composed, but there was a hint of tiredness inside. And then, Lu Fan stood in front of her. A light smile adorned his face, his voice both confident and affectionate. "Hey, my big sister. Don't worry, I'm with you. There's nothing here to bother you now." The air calmed down a little, and in the living room, the silence before the war began to be felt. Near the gate of the mansion, the Long family and the other guests had already arrived. Standing in the yard, chatting amongst themselves, some impatient, some defiant. One of them, who looked very arrogant in his clothes and demeanor, joked, "Do we still have to remind them to come in?" Just then, the main door of the mansion slowly opened. Lu Fan and Senior Sister walked out together. Both were quiet, but their presence suddenly filled the atmosphere with silence. Lu Fan's eyes were sharp, while Senior Sister's face was filled with cold confidence. All the eyes inside focused on them. Just then, the man sitting in front, Long Erhu, age 32, a level 98 hidden professional King Kong monk, laughed sarcastically. "Oh, this is the guest. It's really special. We've been here for hours, but we haven't even had a cup of hot tea yet." Senior Sister looked at him with disdain. Her words were cold, but the sting was deep. "You should be grateful that you were allowed in today. In the past, uncivilized people like you were thrown out before the mansion's gates." Long Erhu laughed a deliberately provocative laugh. He stepped forward and started acting childish by sticking out his tongue in mockery. He then said sarcastically, "That was the past. Let's talk about the present. Now, even if someone were to urinate in front of your door, no member of your family would dare to cough." He smiled and then added in a serious tone, "We are here because the resources that were lent to the Long family before. Now it's time to take them back." Standing nearby, his younger brother Long Jin was silent. But his eyes were still shining with the same arrogance. The room became heavy, but Lu Fan was still calm, like the calm before a storm. Long Erhu was now serious. She took a step forward and said, "Unfortunately, things are such that your family no longer needs to explain themselves to their old glory. Long Jin traveled 1,000 miles to visit your family. And what did you do in return? Injured him? Insulted him?" Her voice was now low but heavy. "Our old master is extremely angry about this insult, and he is willing to make us pay for it." Anger flashed in Senior Sister's eyes. She didn't pause. "You guys are so shameless. It's clear that your intention is not to repay the debt, but to make us bow down." Long Jin broke the rules, and what happened was his fault. Long Erhu broke the conversation with laughter once again. "Why are you so angry? I have a perfect solution to this." He winked. "Why don't you marry me? That way you'll become Long Jin's sister-in-law's sister-in-law. Then you can beat him up as much as you want legally." The room fell silent for a moment. The insults lingered in the air. Long Erhu was now determined to make the final blow. He looked around slowly, then said in a loud voice, "The Wang family is now with our Long family. No one in this entire region is brave enough to hold an evil thought against us." Senior Sister's face hardened upon hearing this, but before she could say anything, Long Erhu spoke again, a taunt steeped in dismal poison. "If you can do a little service to my younger brother Long Jin, maybe I'll let you go. You'll become my sister-in-law after all." The room fell silent, and just then, a voice that was cold but trembling with anger pierced the air. "That's enough. Lu Fan had now come forward. His eyes were stern, his tone steady but seething deep within. He walked towards Long Erhu and said in a disdainful tone, "You talk like someone who wants to eat goose meat. Have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror? Look at your face. In the mirror before you go out, think, what level of person are you?" He took a step forward, his presence now seeming heavy. Talk of making a sister-in-law is befitting those who can at least stand up to humanity. But you are a burden on your own family's neck. Lu Fan's sharp words had changed the atmosphere in the hall. Everyone was silent for a few moments. But the silence didn't last long. Long Jin's older brother, Long he suddenly burst out. He angrily yelled, "Lu Fan! How dare you? Do you even know who you're talking to? Even my second brother doesn't talk nonsense like you." Long Jin, who was standing behind him, now slowly turned to glare at Lu Fan. Sparks of insult and vengeance were burning in his eyes. The air had become heavy. The tension was growing. But then, Lu Fan glanced at Long Jin without panic. With complete calm and confidence, then looked straight at his older sister. His tone was soft, but firm as iron. "Don't worry, older sister. No matter how much noise these people make, they can't do anything to us." He took a step forward, his face now the clearest and most serious in the whole hall. "I am with you. No one can harm you." His words echoed in the room as if a protective shield had spread through the air. Lu Fan's words broke through senior sister's wall of fear. She stared at him for a while, and then her eyes became moist. She looked at Lu Fan with a smile, then gently embraced him. Her voice was trembling, but there was a genuine warmth in it. "Lu Fan, look. He's bringing such a huge army. What can a weak girl like me do?" She said with a light laugh. "But if you're with me, then I'm not afraid of these people at all." Lu Fan didn't say anything, just placed his hand on her back as if to say, "I'm here. I always will." Senior sister then slowly looked into his eyes and said with a smile, "And yes, did you hear? These people not only want our territory, they also want to make me their slave." Lu Fan burst out laughing. He smiled slightly, then looked at her and said, "Okay, from now on, I'll take care of you of everything." Long Erhu's eyes were now brimming with jealousy and arrogance. He glared at senior sister and said in a venomous voice, "Why are you being so arrogant now? Do you think that because this boy is standing by your side, no one can touch you?" He took a step forward, his voice even more shrill. "You may need to be reminded that an outsider has no say in the affairs of noble families. According to that, this boy can't help you." The hall fell silent, but senior sister didn't back down. She smiled with a calm but deadly confidence. She looked straight into Long Erhu's eyes and said, "You're absolutely right. The affairs of noble families are based on rules, and I know these rules very well." She took a step forward, straightened her posture, and announced in a resonant voice, "As the heiress of this noble family, I here now publicly declare Lu Fan will now be the representative of this noble family, and his words will no longer be just mine, the voice of the entire family." Lightning flashed through the room. A few people stopped breathing. Disbelief and anger flashed in Long Erhu's eyes, and Lu Fan was no longer just a partner. As senior sister's announcement echoed through the hall, the faces of those present flashed. In disbelief, Long Erhu froze. His eyes widened. He exclaimed in frustration, "What? Hey, what does this mean? You are declaring this outsider boy to be the representative of this family?" He looked around as if looking for support, but no one said anything. Only then did senior sister smile softly, a smile that was neither arrogant nor fearful, but based on the firm foundation of determination. she said in a clear voice. Yes. Lu Fan is now the acting head of this family. She paused for a moment, then looked straight at Long Erhu. Isn't that explanation enough for you? Lu Fan was now sitting in the chair, known as the Western Frontier. This was the most prestigious spot in the mansion, the core of the family's main guest room, and the tradition-bound throne where only the highest authority in the family could sit. This was the same chair that Wuxia's grandfather had once sat in, the man who founded this empire. The moment Lu Fan sat in the cushioned throne-like seat, the atmosphere in the room changed. Long Jin's eyes turned bloodshot. He burst out, "This? What kind of joke is this? How could you hand this family over to that scoundrel?" His voice was both panicked and disgusted, as if he couldn't believe this was true. But then, Long Jin, shut up. She was silent for a moment. Then her tone became even darker. You dared to sit in that chair because Wuxia told you to. It seems the Wuxis are very impressed by you. Lu Fan couldn't keep quiet any longer. He glared at Long Jin and said, "If it's a matter of authority, then come. Stand in front of me and talk. I've seen enough snakes hissing behind your back." Jin's second brother immediately jumped in. "According to tradition, shouldn't we call on the ancestors?" But before any reply could come, Long Erhu suddenly yelled, "Tradition to hell! Everyone get out of my way!" His eyes had turned red. He was now completely angry. His breathing was fast and his tone dangerous. He now walked towards senior sister and said with a false sense of respect, "Miss, what I'm about to say is not an insult. It's just a warning." He leaned forward, his voice now full of venom. "If you get in my way, I'll teach not only you, but your little pet a lesson as well. I've always been gentle with women, but this time, miss you. If you get hit, then that pretty face of yours may never be the same again." The room fell into an eerie silence. Everyone stood there holding their breaths if lightning were about to strike. The room fell into an eerie silence. Everyone stood there holding their breath as if lightning were about to strike. Long Jin's final threat cast a pall of fear over the air. Senior sister's face momentarily darkened with worry, but she composed herself and then slowly pointed her hand towards Lu Fan, saying, "I'm here now, and leave it to me." Her voice was calm, but within was a rock-solid assurance. Lu Fan took a step forward. His face was now impassive. On the other side, Long Jin smiled wryly, placed his hand on the hilt of his sword, and said, "You're the junior, and we're from the noble family. So according to tradition, I give you 3 strikes. Strike 3 times, then it'll be my turn." The room was now silent, but Lu Fan replied firmly, without hesitation, not laughing, not afraid. "Okay, fine by your rules. If you survive my 3 attacks, then I will personally announce that I am leaving Western Border, and will also relinquish responsibility to the noble family." He pauses, then adds in a calm voice, "But if you don't survive, then this game is no longer yours." Long Jin's older brother, from behind, shouts in a slightly panicked voice, "Brother, be careful. This is the Lu Fan who has the Black Dragon. Countless stats, so much power." Long Jin's eyes flash with hesitation upon hearing this, but he tries to compose himself. "Are you kidding? A 4th-grade diamond monk, a warrior with 20,000 defense points. On Cloud Edge Mountain, I took on that woman and half a city by myself. No one can stop me." But as soon as his voice rang out, Lu Fan looked him in the eye and said, "Just one thing." Long Jin's brother made another announcement. "Lu Fan, if you're still worried after counting 3 times, I'll forgive all the Long family's debts and give this woman to you." To this, Lu Fan replied, "Okay, I won't back down at all now." Lu Fan raised his palm and showed 3 fingers. Long Jin laughed, but his laughter was hesitant. Lu Fan was neither afraid nor shaken. There was no fear in his eyes, only calmness and control. Even senior sister was momentarily taken aback. Was he really calm? Is he doing all this as part of some grand plan? Lu Fan slowly raised a second finger. The room was quiet. But his eyes were fixed directly on Long Jin. Her brother, who was still full of confidence, thought to himself, I learned the 3 skills from the Wang family's ancestor. If I could withstand a dragon's blow, I'll crush this guy in one strike. But just as Lu Fan made a slight gesture in the air with his first finger, the air pressure suddenly changed. The air in the room became heavy. A strange pressure was felt. No flash, no wave, no sound. But as the air settled, everything was the same. No one was injured. People looked around, and then burst into laughter. That was all? Was that your attack? Just shook the air. Long Jin bared his teeth and said, Do you think we'll be scared by this little horror? Senior sister's face turned angry. She stepped forward, but Lu Fan held her hand. His eyes were deep. Wait, big sister. Don't pay attention to him. On the other side, Long Jin put a hand on her brother's shoulder and whispered, Now is the right time. But at that moment, something broke. A pearl necklace slipped off her neck, and then an invisible blow came, without warning, without any magical aura. Long Jin's brother stumbled. Then the light of life went out of his eyes. A red line appeared on his neckhand. The next moment, a fountain of blood spurted out. The room erupted in screams. Brother, how'd happened to you? How did this happen? Where did this attack come from? People started to back away. The fear was now evident. Long Jin trembled. The arrogance on his face was gone. And amid that strange silence, Lu Fan was still sitting in the same spot without saying a word. But the entire mansion now understood an attack had been made. No one understood. Long Jin, desperate and mad, leaned over his dead brother. Oh, my brother, how did you die? How is this possible? What attack was this? Who did it? How did it happen? His voice was no longer filled with sadness, but also fear and disbelief. The people behind him said in horror, We can't save him. He died in an instant. We don't even know how he died. The hall fell silent, but this silence was more terrifying than death. Long Jin was shaking now. Impossible. Lu Fan didn't even move, and he killed my brother. But then some people in the crowd stepped forward, fuming with anger. They shouted, You killed our second master. You will be punished for this. We will avenge you with blood. But then Long Jin himself tried to stop them. His face was now contorted with fear. Have you all gone crazy? You can't kill Lu Fan. You will all die. Just back off. But the crowd was now in a frenzy. Don't be cowards. We'll fight for our master. The noise in the hall grew louder, and then Senior Sister Li quietly, calmly, pointed to one side. Lu Shon. Don't leave a single one alive. There will be no message. Lu Fan simply snapped his fingers, and then the air erupted in mayhem. No chance, no warnings. But the air was filled with screams, blood, and the smell of death in every direction. People fell in place, some with blood dripping from their eyes, some with no wounds at all, just dead. A river of blood flowed across the hall. Long Jin now knelt on the ground. How is that possible? They didn't even move, and everyone died. Lu Fan now slowly stood up. His eyes were now cold and clear. He looked at Long Jin and said, According to the Long family's rules, servants are punished if they disobey orders. Are you still unable to control them? He paused and asked, Then tell me, who is the Long family's Saiwan master? Long Jin's lips trembled. His knees had given in. He was no longer able to stand.
Lu Fan just made a gesture, and with that one gesture, death became a floating air. Everyone had fallen to the ground except for Long Jin. Quiet, cold, dead. There was a red silence all around. Long Jin, now kneeling down, his face covered in dust and tears. He extended his hand towards Lu Fan. "Please, don't kill me. I will be yours. I will always obey you." Lu Fan's eyes were cold. There was no hatred, no mercy on his face. Just peace. He paused for a moment, then spoke, in a low voice. "Keep your dirty hands away from me. I'm not going to kill you, but I want you go back alive and tell your family everything. Just like I told you last time. But this time, don't hide anything." Long Jin, who was ready to die, suddenly started breathing. There was a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "You are letting me go? Thank you. Thank you, Lu Fan. I understand. I understand." He bows his head again and again. The gratitude of being saved has now become the fear that binds his legs. But he doesn't know that. Lu Fan didn't let him go. He sent him away, as a living warning. Lu Fan looked back, his eyes still fixed on Long Jin, who was now just a broken name. Then his voice resounded, soft but hard enough to crack rocks. "Return to your family immediately. Tell them, within 3 days, all the resources they took from your ancestors must be returned. Every area, every corner that doesn't belong to you must be given up. From now on, tribute must be paid to the Long family." He took a few more steps, but then paused and stared for the last time. 3 days. If they don't listen to me, then I will erase the Long family name from history. Do you understand, Long Jin? Long Jin's face turned ashen. His lips trembled and he bowed his head. I understand, Lu Fan. I will listen to you in every way. He was still alive, but he was no longer that Long Jin who had come here. The elder sister signaled, "Officers, escort this person out of the mansion." At the command, 2 armed officers stepped forward, dragging Long Jin out of the mansion without any respect, like an unclean object. The palace gates open. Long Jin is dragged out. 2 officials, who once trembled at his name, now burst into laughter. See? This is what happens to arrogance. Did the Long family think this mansion was their fiefdom? Now they will tremble at Lu Fan's name. Another official spits. He made Big Sister cry so much, now he's got his due revenge. Long Jin collapses to the ground. His face is covered in mud. His clothes are dirty with blood and dust. He lies there, burned by the fire of humiliation more than the weight of his words. His eyes widen, as if he can't believe he's now at Lu Fan's mercy. His words, "If I don't get an answer in 3 days, I'll wipe out the entire Long family." Long Jin, the same man who once walked proudly, now lay on the ground trembling with trembling lips. There was terror in his eyes and a storm in his heart. He killed everyone, the second brother, his followers, in an instant. When I take this news home, who will believe it? No one will believe that Lu Fan did something like that, without moving, without fighting. At that moment, 2 officers came running. They saw Long Jin still standing there as if his spirit had left. One officer shouted, "Why haven't you left yet? Get out of here!" But Long Jin just stood there. There was a sound in his ears, but his mind was numb. The other officer shouted, "Don't you love your life? Get out! Do you want to die?" Suddenly, Long Jin regained consciousness. He looked at the 2 and screamed in fear, "Don't kill me!" He ran, as if the ground was shaking beneath him. The officers standing behind smiled. "See, we still have power in our voices. We can even scare ghosts." Running away, Long Jin saw the shadow of Lu Fan's dragon. This shadow is called 0% shadow. Does it allow secret entry or exit? Secret entry is not cancelled if discovered. As soon as Long Jin saw the shadow dragon, he became frightened and quickly ran away, saying, "Didn't we overlook it? It was here from the beginning?" Long Jin was soaked in sweat. His breathing was heavy. His legs were trembling. He had been running for half an hour, as if he was being chased by a ghost. He was now close to the western border, where another storm was about to erupt. At the same time, a strong group was advancing from the other direction, not their horses, but a group riding flying beasts, led by Huang Yuetian. The ancestor has received news that the Long family has sent dozens of third-level servants today, a disciple said. Huang Yuetian, a level 98 warrior, sniffed. They? Just 60-70 level worthless drunkards. Not worth mentioning. Just then, a scene ahead caught everyone's attention. A man was running, staggering, his clothes covered in mud, his hair disheveled. "Young master, look ahead." "Who is that man?" "Huang." Yu Tian squinted his eyes and instantly recognized him. "Hey, it's Long Jin." Then he said with a light laugh, "Look at him, running for his life, struggled between noble families and now in this state." "Yuan's swordmaster must have run away like this too," Huang sneered. His level had increased, but his courage and strategy, they were mediocre. One of the disciples added, "Yeah, his level is close to 90, nothing compared to your 98. But the young master suddenly turned serious. "Stop your nonsense. Everyone head east at full speed. Don't waste our time." A disciple whispered, "Why is master thinking so deeply?" Huang Yutian flew over and said, looking at Long Jin's condition, "I know it's not easy this time. There's something else going on in this battle." About half an hour later, officers were still stationed in front of the palace, and landing in front was Huang Yutian and his entourage. One officer said to another, "Hey, who are they now?" The other whispered, "Keep calm. Looks like another noble family has arrived. Quickly inform Miss Yi." And beyond the palace walls, new commotion had begun. But then Huang Yutian signaled the officers. "Wait, you two don't need to panic," he said, calmly. But there was something else in his eyes. The two officers paused for a moment. Perhaps they had just breathed a sigh of relief. Snap. Huang swung both his hands in the air. His palms became as sharp as knives, and in a moment, the necks had been cut. A fountain of blood spurted out, and the officers fell to the ground, motionless. The other officer standing nearby trembled. His eyes widened. "Miss Yi, save me!" He ran screaming. "The Huang family is committing murder!" But the scream remained incomplete. Huang Yutian raised his hand. Red flames rose from the middle of his palm, as if an ancient volcano had awakened again. "You can't run away," he said coldly. As the familiar light emerged, the wind died down. "Huang." Yutian's eyes hesitated for a moment. "Miss Yi," he mumbled. Wrapped in a golden aura, Miss Yi took to the air. The moment her footsteps touched the ground, the entire compound shook once. Her eyes were calm, but her voice was full of fire. "You killed our people in broad daylight. Does your noble family have no righteousness left?" As she stepped forward, a divine energy spread out in all directions, as if even the sky trembled with her anger. Then her voice became harsher. "Since you have struck first, there will be no more discussion. Get ready. Today there will be a war in the name of justice." Big Sister immediately appeared. There is not fear in their eyes, but the calm resolve that only a warrior can have. No matter how many of you are, if you try to advance, not a single one will survive. Huang Yutian laughs, but his laughter is laced with venom. "Do you really think you can stop us?" He raises his hand, and at that moment, the white jade sword appears. His blade screams in light with a special power that reveals every hidden enemy, shatters every illusion. "Look here," he says. "Even your hidden traps are useless now." And the swords wave head straight for Big Sister. Big Sister retreats, but doesn't flinch. The light strikes her shield, but she still stands. Huang Yutian roars, You won't be able to escape this time. Now you will receive the real lesson of taking on the lord of a noble family. The followers standing behind charge forward together, weapons gleaming in their hands, killing intent in their eyes. Big Sister stands alone, but her heart does not waver. But then, the sky was torn apart. There was a roar, as if an ancient spirit had reawakened. The clouds burst open, shrouded in waves of fire, and there appeared Long Jin's dead brother. Everyone's eyes widened in amazement. Some tried to retreat, but then there was another explosion. Flames rushed everywhere, debris flew, people screamed, and some officials' bodies burned to the ground. Lu Fan stood at a distance, calm, stoic, lost in himself, staring at the flames. Then he smiled softly. "It's begun," he mumbled. The dead brother was no longer just a corpse. He had become a puppet, subject to Lu Fan's shadow. His eyes were no longer glowing, but his power had become even more terrifying. He grabbed two officials by the neck, and their bones cracked. Some disciples, buried under the rubble, some unconscious, some dead. The young master's followers shouted, "This is Long Jin's brother! How could he turn against us? This is treason!" But then one of them whispered, "No. This is something else. He's not alive." Just then a man's eyes fell on Lu Fan, standing in the shadows but watching everyone. "Who is he?" he whispered. Miss Yi looked at him, and the voice became hateful. "Lu Fan! He's the one who sent Long Erhu to attack me. He's the one who reduced my palace to ashes." Lu Fan's smile hardened as he heard the words. He raised his finger and made a gesture. "Big Sister." His voice was calm, but it echoed with command. "You don't have to do anything. Now I'll show them how deadly my shadows have become." Big Sister was stunned. She hadn't imagined the power Lu Fan had within him. Now all eyes were on Lu Fan. And in the air, Long Jin's dead brother swung like a puppet, as if death itself was silently descending. Master Yua's eyes flared with anger. He raised his sword high. "Today, I will destroy you with one blow." The sword, cutting through the air, rushed towards Lu Fan. Behind it, countless swords rained down from the sky as if heaven itself wanted to destroy Lu Fan. "No matter who you have, no. One can save your family now," Master Yua roared. But Lu Fan stood firm, calm, eyes as deep as shadows. Then he raised his head with a slow smile, and his gaze reflected the shadow dragon. "Come," he said one word, but that one word shook the sky. Suddenly a deep black storm rose. There appeared the shadow dragon. Night spread from his wings, an ancient rage filled his eyes, and one roar, the entire rain of swords, was reduced to ash in an instant. Master Yua's eyes widened. "What was this? Where did this dragon come from? It was nowhere before. Is this Lu Fan's?" He trembled. This was no ordinary dragon. It was the one that lives in the shadows, whose breath melts mountains. Lu Fan looked at it. There was nothing but vengeance in his eyes now. "You hurt my elder sister. Now you'll pay 100-fold, and I'll show you a power you've never seen."